Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be continuing to review about our operations and fractions. And so we worked on and got quizzed over the adding and subtracting, and now we're going to be continuing working on multiplication. So you should have gotten a notes paper about multiplying fractions. If you haven't, pause the video and go get it. Okay, so everyone has this. So most of this information I have on the slide is already in your notes, but I need you to follow along because some of it you will need to write in yourself. So you need to be actively listening, pausing when you need to, rewinding if you need to, and re-listening if you need to get all of the information into to grasp this. Alright, so fraction times a fraction. There's 3 easy steps that we need to take. Step 1 is to multiply the numerators. Step 2 is to multiply the denominators. And step 3 is to simplify. So right next to those steps on your paper is an example. So here's your example. And you have 1/4 times 3/4. Now, when you multiply fractions, you do not need to find a common denominator. Let me say that again. When you multiply fractions, you do not need to find a common denominator. So you simply just multiply. So step 1, multiply the numerators. You have 1 times 3, which is equal to 3. Step 2 is to multiply the denominators, which is 4 times 4, which is, when you put them together, it's 3 over 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Step 3, simplify if necessary. Now this fraction, as you know, you cannot simplify because there is no number that can go into both 3 and 16. So you need to write on your paper next to your example equals 3 over 16. Our next type of multiplication with a fraction is an integer times a fraction, or a whole number times a fraction. So our example is 6 times 4/5. So our first step is to rewrite the integer as a fraction by putting it over a denominator of 1. So we did that right underneath it. 6 over 1 is the same thing as 6. We want to make sure that we have that because when we multiply straight across like we did before, we need to make sure that we're not multiplying 6 times 5 because that's not going to work. It has to be 6 over 1. So when we multiply straight across, we have 6 times 4, which is equal to 24. This is what you should be writing down. And 1 times 5 is equal to 5. So our improper fraction is 24 over 5. But we're not done because we need to simplify. So when we simplify, we think, how many times does 5 go into 24? Now, I think about that when I say, okay, well, I know 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 5 is 25. 25 doesn't work, so we know that it goes in 4 times. Now we need to find how much is remaining. So 24 minus 20 is 4/5. So it's 4 and 4/5. The next type of multiplication is a mixed number times a mixed number, or a mixed number times a fraction. So our first step is to change the mixed numbers into improper fractions. And so as you guys show me that you know how to do this, just a quick review. So we go the whole number times the denominator plus the numerator. If you don't remember how to do this, I would write this down. So we have the whole number times the denominator plus the numerator. So 2 times 5, which is equal to 10, plus 1 is 11. So the improper fraction of 2 and 1/5 is 11/5. And then we do the same thing with the 1 and 3/4. So we go 1 times 4 plus 3. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So when we rewrite that, you should have already in your paper 11/5 times 7 over 4. So that's what we do first, and then we're doing the same thing. Now we have fraction times a fraction, so we know our first step with that, multiply the numerators, so 11 times 7 is 77. Multiply the denominators, 5 times 4 is 20, so we get 77 over 20. And then, oops, we want a pen. Okay, and then we need to simplify 77 over 20. So how many times does 20 go into 77? Well, we know that 2 times 3 is 60, or I'm sorry, 20 times 3 is 60, and 20 times 4 is 80. 80 is too much, so our whole number is 3. So then to get what's remaining, we have 77 minus 60. 77 minus 60, which is 17. So 3 and 17 over 20. Sorry about my messy handwriting with the pen. It's kind of hard with the computer. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. Remember, we're taking notes with this one. You don't have the completed notes, so you need to finish the equations and solve them with me. If you haven't done that, rewind and go back and do it. If you have any questions while we're doing the activity in class or the worksheet in class, please watch the video again, or don't hesitate to ask me. I will always be available to help you. So thank you so much for being great listeners, and I'll see you later.